Edward Garon, the Johnson Comprehensive Cancer Center at UCLA. So at this meeting, I have the opportunity to update data on the KEYNOTE-001 study. This was, in many respects, an unusual phase 1 study, unusual in that we ended up enrolling over 1,000 patients, and it led to the approval of pembrolizumab, at least the initial approval, in both non-small cell lung cancer and melanoma, and also PD-L1 companion diagnostic assay. So when we originally presented the data, it was back in 2015, along with a companion article in the New England Journal of Medicine. What we showed was that there was a 20% response rate in previously treated patients with non-small cell lung cancer, and that the benefit appeared to correlate with PD-L1 expression, particularly PD-L1 expressed in at least 50% of the cells. And at that time, of course, we had limited follow-up data. Now we have a median follow-up of over 16 months, and of course, 5-year overall survival has been a typical benchmark we've looked at in lung cancer, and one where we really have traditionally felt it's unlikely that advanced non-small cell lung cancer patients would get to a 5-year. At the update that we now give, we have demonstrated that over 15% of the patients who participated in this study were alive at 5 years. That ends up being 550 patients overall who were on the study, 101 who were treatment naive, 449 who had received prior therapy for advanced non-small cell lung cancer. Among patients who had high PD-L1 expression, PD-L1 expressed in at least 50% of their cells, over a quarter of the patients were alive at 5 years, with about half as many alive at 5 years among patients who had low expression. And unfortunately, among those who had negative expression for PD-L1, the 5-year survival was very similar to what we've seen in historical controls. One additional thing that we tend to look at, in addition to efficacy, of course, is toxicity. And one concern with this class of agents was the potential for toxicity that would be seen late, particularly immune-related toxicity. And fortunately, we did not see much that made us concerned about late immune-related toxicity. So I think that the take-home points of this are that there is now a group of patients who are going to have a good 5-year survival with non-small cell lung cancer, and in this high PD-L1 group, at least a quarter of them will be among that group of patients. I think one hope is that we would be able to have biomarkers that will further refine. So instead of being able to select a group that has a 25% likelihood of being alive at 5 years, that we would be able to select a group where the majority of them would be alive at 5 years, because these things, in addition to being encouraging, really are important in determining whether or not patients undergo certain therapies, all sorts of patient management questions. So I think that's one big question. Another big question is that in many patients, pembrolizumab is now given along with chemotherapy. And one question is what one will see with 5-year survival rates in those studies, particularly for patients with low PD-L1 expression. We know that the short-term data clearly support adding pembrolizumab to chemotherapy, but the question then will be, do the chemotherapy and pembrolizumab group of patients have, for instance, even a higher likelihood of 5-year survival than what we've seen in this group? And I think the data for that is yet to be seen.